Thank you all for being here. You guys can hear okay? I know it's not speakers, but you're good? Okay, thank you. Thank you all for being here. I'm joined today by our Chief of Police, Michael Moore, by our Superintendent, Alberto Carvalho, and also our council member from the 13th Council District, Mitch O'Farrell, as well as representatives of our teams who have been working around the clock on the tragedy that we saw unfold. On Tuesday, in our city of Angels, we lost a bright young angel who was the victim of a drug overdose taken from us way too soon in our city. There's no more tragic news that a parent, that a school community, that friends can hear than a teenager who has been taken from our city, her potential lost, her story here at an end. And she, as well as 3 other young students who were hospitalized, were harmed by fentanyl, a threat that is not new but growing every single day. Cheaply made, incredibly dangerous, a deadly growing threat to our kids and to our communities, peddled by predators who are distributing death. These are not overdoses. These are people who have been poisoned. These are murders. And I want to thank LAPD for their swift action in this case. Anybody who questions whether or not we have a department that is equipped with the very best people and the experience it takes knows that the city of Los Angeles is grateful to have a department like this that can so swiftly bring justice forward. They've identified the suspects who have been, and one, I believe 2, and we'll have the chief give more detail, have now been arrested. I want to make one thing clear, though, that we collectively as a city, the community, the government, the school district, if you prey on our children, it will not end well for you. And we're not just interested in the final distributors of the pills that peddled this death. We want to go up that chain. And anybody who's involved with the distribution of this, the manufacturing of this, those who are enabling the dealers that allow this to happen, this will not end well for you. To the parents who are affected by this tragedy, I want us to all say that we wrap our arms of love around you and our hearts break with you. We have no tolerance for this evil. We'll be relentless not only in taking down predators, but also lifting up our young people. And I want to thank the council member, the superintendent, the LAUSD staff, and the work we've already done to make sure that there are safe places for our children to be, especially working class families when 2 parents work or only parent works. And the parents who are seeing these tragic deaths unfold, please take time to talk to your kids about the risks of taking illegal drugs, and especially of how deadly fentanyl can be. The very first time somebody takes this can be the very last day that they live on the face of the earth. So I know these conversations can be hard and scary. For some of us, it might seem like this is decades old, these conversations, but they are more necessary now than they have been in recent memory. And for this generation, they live in an extremely dangerous time. 1 pill can kill. Assume that non-prescribed and legal substances contain fentanyl, and tell your children that. If you can't tell if drugs contain fentanyl by look, taste, smell, or touch, that is what makes them so dangerous. You cannot see that. And a dealer may be a friend or a so-called friend or classmate. They might not even know what substance they are providing to you. Overdoses are now the leading cause of preventable death among people aged 18 to 45, ahead of suicide, ahead of traffic accidents, ahead of gun violence. So the best way to combat this is through awareness and education, compassion and open communication, even as we bring justice to bear in this and other cases. And if your child is feeling stressed, anxious, or depressed, you can find mental health support through your health provider or our LA County Department of Mental Health, where there are resources specifically for our youth. Today, our community grieves the loss of a precious young life, and we will not rest until justice is brought. I will come back and say Spanish, but let me now turn over to our Chief, Michael Moore, to say a few words.
Mayor Garcetti, thank you very much, and thank you for being here today. Superintendent, thank you as well. I want to thank Councilmember O'Farrell, as well as the Special Agent in charge of the Drug Enforcement Agency, that is Mr. William Bodner, who's behind me, as well as the men and women to my left. These are the command officers that oversee the units that have sprang into action regarding the immediate discovery of these 2 young victims and in the pursuit of identifying who the purveyors of these deadly narcotics were. and yet we're not done, and so their work continues. On Tuesday, September 13th, these two victims purchased what they believed to be Percocet from subject number one. We're not identifying any of these juveniles based on their age. Subject number one is 15 years of age. He's a male. The transaction of this occurred on school campus. Now there's been a need to make clarification. Both of the subjects that are now in custody, subject one and the person I'll later identify as subject two, are students at Apex, which is an independent charter school that's co-located at the Bernstein High School. So the early reports of them being actual students at Bernstein, there's a distinction here in regards to the charter school versus the LA Unified School District High School, which is adjacent to it. Both these victims, after they received the pill, went to a woman's bathroom where they crushed it, and we believe they snorted the powder as an effort to get the influence of the drug. Victim two later woke and found victim one unresponsive. She walked outside where she found her father, who was looking for her. Now the initial transaction of the sale occurred about 12:30 in the afternoon, and from 12:30 to 8 o'clock is where we believe these two individuals consumed the drug and then had the immediate impact of this drug, which we suspect is laced with fentanyl. The father discovers them about 8 o'clock. The police department, fire department are immediately dispatched. Unfortunately, victim one they could not recover, and she did die, and she is deceased. Victim two was transported and is still hospitalized. It's hopeful that she will recover from this incident. West Bureau Homicide was immediately called into this matter, and in their relentless work, joined by the Hollywood area, the Narcotic Enforcement Detail, as well as the Gang Narcotics Division, their task force responded to this to investigate how did this transaction occur and who was responsible. Quickly, we identified both subjects. Subject one being 15-year-old male, suspect two being a 16-year-old male. Subject one lives with his grandmother, and this morning he was arrested at approximately 8:40 in the morning. There he was found in the possession of some additional pills that we believe to be the same narcotic and the same poisonous drug laced with fentanyl. His background is limited. He's had minor contacts with the police, such as curfew, tobacco possession, no other criminal conduct. He will be booked. He's currently in our custody, and will be booked for 602 of the Welfare Institution Code, 192 of the Penal Code, which is manslaughter. By all indications, the overdose, this incident occurred as the drug was laced with fentanyl, unbeknownst to these victims. Suspect two, we believe, sold narcotics not at that location, but at the nearby park, and sold it to a third victim. He is also in custody and will be charged with the sale of narcotics, and the effort will be to detain him as well. He is a close associate of subject one. Our investigation has not stopped here. We still have the forensics to work with the narcotics that are taken into custody to verify what we suspect is that this is a fentanyl-laced pills. It's common practice today in the illicit pill market to use fentanyl to spike or to enhance the drug. Typically and frequently, these result in overdoses because of the overabundance of fentanyl and the powerful nature of it. Our work does not stop because these two individuals, 15 and 16 years of age, are simply transferring and soldiering, if you will, this distribution. There is a drug organization behind this. And I'm thankful that with the DEA's assistance and our HIDTA task force, in support by our narcotic enforcement detail, that we will identify who are supplying these drugs to these two individuals. And I look forward to pursuing an aggressive prosecution for them, because this is the trail of this does not end here. I'm also encouraged by the work, the fast work, the expediency of the Drug Administration the DEA coming to the assistance of LA Unified to increase the awareness for students and faculty alike about the dangers of consuming these illicit drugs. That these are, it's a Russian roulette, except the weapon may have one empty chamber and the rest of it are likely things that could kill you. That I don't believe is currently appreciated by many students across our entire region. And unfortunately, the death and these critical injuries come at a heavy cost, but I'm hopeful from it we can see a greater awareness and avoidance of this tragic circumstance. At this point, I'd like to introduce the superintendent for LA Unified School District. Appreciate his leadership and partnership in the safeguarding of these children and education, and that is Superintendent Carvalho. Sir?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Hold on one sec. We'll get to questions in a second. Go ahead.
I'm going to take him aside.
We'll answer questions at the end, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chief Moore. Mr. Mayor, I want to begin by thanking you for your efforts, Chief Moore and Chief Zipperman, for the high level of collaboration, the sense of urgency that this case not only deserved and merited, but the actions that were so quickly taken to pursue the leads that were available and identify the individuals that brought about so much destruction to families in our community. One child lost is one child too many. And as I conveyed to a number of you yesterday, since I arrived here, I made a commitment of writing condolences letters to employees who would pass away and children, students in our system. And my right hand is tired of putting black ink on white paper, signing those condolence letters. This one was a very heartbreaking one. I had a chance of speaking with the family, with the mother of the beautiful child, 15-year-old child, who lost her life. I had a chance of speaking with about a dozen parents at Bernstein High School. And subsequently, through the efforts of our local district superintendent, Dr. Brown, we've had a chance of speaking with students, both at Hollywood High as well as Bernstein High. And here's what we've learned. Number one, this is irreparable harm to our community. Every time a child dies, particularly as a result of a heinous, murderous act, the fabric of our community is destroyed. One child, one soul at a time. So it's not acceptable. I said it yesterday, I heard the mayor say it again today. You can run, but you can't hide. We're coming for you. When you prey on young children, even if you have intermediaries in the process, using children to harm children is the greatest crime, the greatest sin one can commit in our community. So rest assured, you may hide in the shadow of whatever curtain you choose, but there are smarter and stronger, more morally driven people who will find you, who will prosecute you, and will punish you. So I want to thank once again the mayor, both chiefs, Chief Moore, whose agency led this investigation so swiftly, resulting in very rapid conclusions with the arrest of these two individuals. We will never be able to bring this young lady back. The harm and the damage is done. However, what we can do is what we have already started doing. During summer school, the city and the mayor and the school system partnered. And across the community, we provided safe environments, educational opportunity enrichment programs, athletic programs, and anything else in between for over 100,000 young people in our community. The challenge for us now is in the killing hours after the last bell and nighttime, what are we willing to do? And we have commitments from our local district superintendents, from the chiefs, from this mayor, that we will turn our parks into safe havens for kids. But we will go deeper and farther. There are decommissioned schools in the area. For example, Selma Elementary. I remember having a conversation with City Council member O'Farrell just yesterday and today again. We will use our joint intelligence, our collective desire, and turn deactivated assets of the city and of the school system to provide safe havens for kids, monitored havens for kids, where they can play, where they can enjoy themselves, where they can engage in enrichment activities, athletic activities. One of the comments from one of the students yesterday was, we don't know where to go. Our parents are working full-time, sometimes 2 jobs. We're alone. So of course we're in the streets. We ought to turn the streets into places where they are safe. We can do more, and we have a collective commitment that we shall do more. What does that mean? Reactivating deactivated schools such as Selma, deploying resources, human resources for protective custody and the supervision of these students, guaranteeing that after school that are captivating programs that motivate and engage our students away from nefarious entities in our community. I look forward to this ongoing investigation as I close, to identify the adults, no doubt, who are behind this criminal activity.